pop off in the middle of it. But
what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. Slop streams. We're here. I've been having a fantastic day. Not only did Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers trade away one of my favorite players in recent memory on the Sixers, but also my computer just decided not to work the day before our biggest day of the year, the trade deadline. So I'm coming to you via a Xbox 360 2007 ass headset. And we have here in the building our resident Thunder fan. We have Nick Sanchez. What's going on, Nick? How you feeling?
I'm having a great time. I'm in the snow. I shoveled snow all day, and I got some excellent news. So I'm thrilled.
So it is very much karma for me to sit back and say Sam's obviously been more pressing about this on the podcast, but for me to say, the Thunder would just be really fucking stupid to sit on their hands and not do anything at this deadline. They have so many picks, they can't even roster all these players. They're going to have to move these picks at some point. So then we find out this afternoon that Jared McCain has been traded for a first-round pick from the Houston Rockets. I'm assuming that Daryl Morey tried to call and get our pick back, and they basically told him to fuck off. But they get the Houston Rockets pick in this upcoming draft. That was one of 4 potential picks you guys could have in this first round, I think. Right, Nick?
It's 4, yeah. It's the Jazz. The Jazz one is the one we probably won't get, but then we've got the Clippers and the Sixers now. And that's the 2 we have.
Maybe you won't get it. I mean, it's possible, but I'm assuming that they said you could have the worst of these 4 picks, which is the Rockets. I also don't think it's impossible that the Sixers end up having I don't think they're going to be able to catch up to the Rockets, but I think they might be within a few picks of the Rockets by the end of the season. But there is also insurance from the Thunder's perspective on that side of things, just in terms of, if the Sixers wanted to bottom out, if, something happened down the stretch here, they can't because they got the Rockets pick instead of the Sixers pick. So the first reaction I had was, please tell me there's another move coming. Because to make a trade for a player that is Jared McCain's age, and to do it purely because of financial reasons would drive me absolutely insane. Which so far it's looking like this is a way to dodge the tax. If they can't end up dumping Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond, they did, like I said, they got this first round pick but that money won't be on the books until next year. But the long and short of this is that something that I've said before, something that Chiodo pointed out to me less than a year ago, probably last offseason. Every time Daryl Morey was in public and he was talking about the Sixers core moving forward, he never mentioned Jared McCain. It was always like Maxey, Embiid, VJ, Paul George. Sometimes even he would throw in like Kelly Oubre or Quentin Grimes or someone along those. He never, ever said Jared McCain. And that kind of was telling when you're thinking about a team that should be theoretically trying to build for the future, and they're not even mentioning Jared. Now, obviously, the VJ pick, I've always said you just go for the best player on the board. You don't care about who's on your roster. Don't draft for positional fit at the top of the draft. Draft the player you think is going to be the best player in the NBA. While I've been extremely excited about VJ and his future with the team, it's one of those things where it just feels like a huge fucking bummer because a little over a year ago, I should say, he was looking like potentially the rookie of the year before he had this meniscus injury. He comes back. He doesn't look nearly as athletic, but also meniscuses are weird, as Sixers fans know. Last year, Joel Embiid did not look like Joel Embiid. And this year, he looks a little bit closer to what we think of Joel Embiid following a meniscus injury. So, Nick, how are you feeling about this trade on the whole? Because I'm pretty pissed, but I'm also holding out hope that they do something else. I don't have high hopes for that. And then on top of that, I'm also looking at this like, I do think some people are overreacting a little bit just because Presti obviously deserves to be in the prestige zone of GMs, but what the team being the Oklahoma City Thunder trading for a player of Jarrett's caliber, combined with the fact that they're kind of the nerd darling, the defending champions, all that shit, it's obviously gonna catch a lot of people's attention and kind of, levy some criticism towards the Sixers, which I honestly do think, unless they make another move, they should get some criticism for this.
I mean, my first thought was I love Jared McCain. He was my favorite rookie last year. I was like immediately, as soon as he had his first good game, I was like, oh, the Sixers got the most fun rookie of all time, and I was very jealous because we had Topic, who was out for the year. And so that was my first thought. My second thought was, this is not a win now move. And I think I'm probably getting ahead of Sam a little bit here, because I think Sam's take is going to be Presti once again not making a win now move, but I'll let him talk for himself. But it's not a move for this year. I think it's a move for next year, when it's like, okay, we have to get rid of Isaiah Joe and or Aaron Wiggins I think that this is a move looking at, we're going to have to move one of Joe, Wiggins, Topic, Dort, Kaysen, probably 2 or maybe 3 of those guys that might not be on the team after the summer. And this is a guy who's on his rookie contract, who we've seen good flashes from, who's going to try to step in and take that role. Probably not this year, though. And this trade coming out, coupled with the Shea injury, he had an abdominal strain, within 10 minutes of each other, these two pieces of information.
I don't think that was related, though.
I don't think so either, but there was a small part of me that was like, there is a small 5% chance that this could have been related, of oh, we're worried about the Shea injury, and if Shea's not fully healthy in the playoffs, we're not winning the title. It's just, there's no trade we could do outside of trading Dub for Giannis or something, which they're never going to do, would make it so that we would win the title if Shea is not healthy in the playoffs. And so
I think if you were worried about the Shea injury, I think you guys would have been more involved in someone like Coby White. Not that Coby White's even in the same stratosphere as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but he's at least someone you can plug and play and have him eat guard minutes when Shea is out for maybe, 3 weeks or however long he's out here. I don't think they would make a panic move like that anyway.
A Thunder player did get traded for Coby White, and it was Usman Chang.
That's true. Well, are we sure that actually happened? Because we never got a Shams tweet. Just Shams tweets about the McCain trade, doesn't include any other details, and then he goes, oh, by the way, the Charlotte Hornets are trading him to the Chicago Bulls, and we're like, he's not on the Charlotte Hornets. How did this happen? He disappeared.
I was looking at, because we have 10 players injured tonight for the Spurs game. We're going to be starting Kenrich Williams tonight. No starters are playing. And so I looked at a roster. I was like, who is even still healthy on this roster? And Mason Plumlee is on the official Oklahoma City Thunder roster page, which is very funny.
So he's there already. He was part of the trade just because they sent Zhang to the Hornets, and then McCain and Plumlee. Wait, so is that trade official then?
I guess. I have no idea. I know I don't think the Jared trade is official.
I would imagine that what Morey tends to do is when he makes these trades, he doesn't get them done until the day of the deadline, so that if they want to expand the trade, they can expand the trade. And I'm sure Oklahoma City, once again, this is not a move for now. I think this is a move for, we saw how he looked last year. We're probably not going to be able to roster all these picks anyway. We might as well get a guy we liked last year on the Sixers. And we need shooting. That is the one thing that they do need. They need someone who is a reliable spacer that's going to move off of the ball and be a release valve for Shea, for Chet, for all of those guys, because we've seen, we saw in the Nuggets game the other night that when they're actually making their threes, they're pretty much unstoppable. They're very, very hard to beat. And one of the things that I do like about Jared's fit with the Thunder in general is that there are not many teams in the NBA, I think, that could just take Jared McCain's defense and not make it that much of an issue. The Thunder have some very good interior defenders. They have some of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And Jared will always be the weakest defender on the court. I think if you got to a point where Jared was a neutral defender, you would feel pretty good considering the potential that he has on offense. I'm just assuming that, this is a lost year for Jared, and that next year he's going to come back and look a little bit more fluid, look a little bit more. The thing that is the real difference between him last year and this year is the relocation stuff just wasn't there for him. And that was kind of what made him special as a rookie, where he was able to, he had this stop-start ability where he could just like lose defenders off the ball. He could get guys, even some of the, like if you go watch clips from his rookie season, when he was being defended, he's being defended by guys like Amen Thompson, Jalen Suggs, OG Anunoby, Dorian Finney-Smith, and he was just losing them over and over again, whether he was on the ball or off the ball. And I think it just gives OKC a dynamic shooter that they, even though obviously the best dynamic shooter on the Thunder is also a former Sixers draft pick in Isaiah Joe, which I'm sure will be brought up a ton considering we lost him for literally nothing. But I think they use that scenario as an example for why you shouldn't wait to move on from a guy. Because I know for a fact that teams liked Isaiah Joe, they were never giving up more than like 2 second-round picks for him or anything when he was on our team. But we basically waited until he had no value at all. And then we turned around and we tried to get something for him. We couldn't. We had to waive him. He goes to OKC and he becomes a player. Ultimately, if the coach isn't going to play him, I don't really know what. Like, we just had a crazy short lease for Jared this year, and I would be more patient because I'm just like I feel like this is the opposite of getting ahead of that, because I do think there's a world where Jared could have regained his trade value and had, similar to the example I always use is like the OG Anunoby for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley one, where the Sixers could have gotten to a situation where, like, if Jared was just kind of a wash this year, came back next year, started to look more like himself, and then you had this big Paul George contract that's got a year and a half, 2 years left on it, and it's easier to move because there's less time, then you can throw picks in there and you can go get someone who's like a real difference maker. And they chose to go the opposite direction. And I almost puked when they said that they did it so that they could try to maintain flexibility, and which is the thing they always fucking say at the fucking deadline every year when they dodge the tax. And this upcoming offseason potentially bring back Quentin Grimes, who has been extremely inconsistent and terrible for a month and a half now, outside of like 3 or 4 games. I just don't really, I know why they ended up doing this. I think they look at it for everything that I just laid out. But on top of it, they see like, we need to have someone who can not be a hole on the court defensively in the playoffs. If we're building around Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, he's already going to only have so many playoff minutes as it is. And anyone who fits in that spot can't be someone that can be targeted defensively like McCain has been, even when he was good his rookie season. So, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not fucking happy about it. The Sixers are fucking make me miserable. And then they get fun young players. And then the second that they're not serviceable for what they want, they move on. And I'm just fucking annoyed. I can't really look at this rationally because it's just like they just always do things that annoy the fuck out of me. And I always thought that they would be able to get more for Jared if they added stuff to him. So obviously the league did not feel that way. And OKC is one of the few teams that can take this. It's not even really a risk, but like they can take this flyer on Jared because they have so much fucking ammo to make trades like this.
Mm-hmm. And I think that there is a small part of the Thunder fan base and a much larger part of the Sixers fan base that is thinking, well, this can't be it, right? At the trade deadline, because this isn't a move. This isn't a win now move for either team. And they're both like the Thunder have clear, obvious flaws that in the future, Jared McCain, like the plan is for him to fill, right, with 3-point shooting. But he'll play this year. Mark plays everybody. Like he will get his shot this year, but I'm not anticipating coming off of this injury that he's going to be a huge contributor, especially in the playoffs.
Sure.
And for the Sixers, like it is okay, this better not be a Morey kind of situation.
This is what they do every year, though.
Yeah.
This is why I always try to temper people's expectations for the deadline. GM doesn't care. Like, he doesn't. Like, what he cares about is keeping his job. And what keeps his job? Going to ownership and saying, what do you want me to do? And they say, dodge the tax so we can get money. And he lucked the fuck out this year with this situation with Paul George that made it so easy to dodge the tax. And then he decided to basically turn around and go you know, like I think that it's more valuable to get a first and 3 seconds. I don't care about the seconds because, I mean, once again, Daryl Morey's a good drafter, but he has no patience with any of his players. So why do I even care about the draft picks? Is my whole thing. Why, unless they turn around and they use those draft picks to go get good proven players? Like, I could run you down. You know, Isaiah Hartenstein was drafted by Daryl Morey. He never fucking played. D'Anthony Melton was drafted by Daryl Morey. He never fucking played. Isaiah Joe drafted by Daryl Morey. He never fucking played. Great. You're awesome at second round picks. You don't fucking do anything. Those players never play for your fucking team. So what do I give a shit? Like, you're just impatient all the fucking time. And now we're in a situation where, like, once again, if they do a win now trade, I can be like, all right, well, at least they tried to capitalize on this bounce back year and get someone in the door that can actually make a fucking difference while Joel Embiid is looking the way that he is right now. But ultimately, I know how this is going to end, and they'll probably get someone who doesn't matter, that never plays, and they'll just care about dodging the tax, and they'll come up with some bullshit fucking excuses in the press conference. I'm just sick of this shit, dude. I'm sick of it every fucking year. Anyway, Sam, how do you feel about the trade?
I think you guys will be surprised today. I actually think it's like totally fine, especially from the Thunder perspective. I think that this is a pretty straight. I think this trade is pretty easily diagnosed as a straight valuation trade. I would be a little bit nervous if I were the Thunder trading for Jared McCain, because my question would be, well, what do you guys know that I don't? But with this trade, and I think that's kind of the concern, is that you have this guy play really good for, 15, 20 games his rookie year before he was out for the season.
Yeah, I think he played 29, but he had that stretch of like 15 games where
we were making Steph Curry comps, like, kind of unironically, which is obviously but like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, he was really special those like 15 games, and then was pretty bad this year. But Trill, as you've documented, you and Chiodo and the entire chat were looking at his plus minuses being like, how do we keep winning his minutes with him playing like dog shit? So it's like, how, there's a little bit of, this is kind of a little bit of an analytics big dig off, like this is Daryl Morey saying, I think I can trick you into falling for this. And Sam Presti saying, no, I think we're getting a gem here, and time is only going to, bear out which one of them is correct. Because I think the Sixers, the way the Sixers are operating tells me they don't think that Jared McCain is coming back, at least in a way that like means anything. And they wanted to trade him as soon as possible before everybody else figured this out. I think and I think that Sam Presti has looked at this and said, look, we have all these draft picks. We can't roster all these guys. This is a great chance for us to consolidate, get a pretty young player, and get a pretty high upswing guy, because we've seen this guy be really elite sometimes. I don't think there's any question this isn't a trade for right now, but my thing is more just, they just need consolidation trades, so if you can get, I think this is a totally fine consolidation trade, because that upside is really something. This guy could be an all-star if who we saw his rookie year comes back, just that's the question. So I would be going insane if I were a Sixers fan. That's like for sure.
And I do just want to point out here, the last time that I felt this way about them trading away a young player, just letting a young player go, was Isaiah Joe. Like, I don't do this with when we traded Jaden Springer and there were Sixers fans melting down. I was like, Jaden Springer fucking sucks. Like, let's be real. Like, I like Jaden. Like, I was glad we drafted him. And then the second he got in the NBA, I was like, oh, we made a mistake. He's not an NBA player. Like, we have evidence that this guy can be good in the NBA, and he's so young that it's just not, I don't think it's good business to give up on guys this early unless there is a logical trade that helps your team right now compete. And I just don't buy that they're going to be able to turn around and draft someone that's going to make as much of a difference. Once again, it's a financial move. I think that I'm not saying this so I don't want to say that this trade signifies that they don't care about this year, because Jared wasn't helping anyway. Like, McCain wasn't really even in the rotation all that much. He was on the fringes. He really just came off his best week or two recently. But I do think it signals that they're more like, all right, we got to keep kicking the can down the road because we don't think that this Joel Health thing's going to be sustainable. And we think that we need to kind of aim for this new window with VJ and Maxi and a little bit down the line here have some cheaper contracts on the books that are starting next year because, you know, we're already 2 years behind with Jared at this point because we drafted him in 2024. So I don't know. I think that from a basketball standpoint, like a fit standpoint with the Thunder, the Thunder are one of the most unique teams in the NBA in that they've like people say like, well, heliocentric offense doesn't work. And it's like, I think it can. I just think it looks different than what we think. Like when we think of heliocentric offense, we think of like high pick and roll. We think of Harden and Luka and to a lesser extent LeBron, because LeBron obviously was like the best at it. But I feel like with guys like Jokic and SGA, they've just kind of changed the way that formula works. And if your best player is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you watch those games, like that game against the Thunder he had the other night I think that was the best game I've ever seen him have. And he didn't even it wasn't like he had like a 50-point game or something. Just from a process standpoint, he was so in control in a way that I don't think that I've ever seen him in terms of everything is kind of coming together for him, where it's like he can score at all three levels at will. He can get anywhere he wants on the paint, or on the court. He can get into the paint. He can drive and kick. He can get to the mid-range. He's got the step back from three occasionally now. And then on top of that, like he's just making better reads of the defense and in the playmaking reads. And he's gathering collapsing the whole defense, 2-3 guys in rotation and finding the right guy. And who better to plug into a situation like that if you can get him back to where he was before than one of the best off-ball guards in the NBA in Jared McCain.
Yeah, I think the vision, it really is just like let Jared kind of be like an off-ball demon, because Shai has become a way better passer this year. Like up until this year, he has been a little bit in terms of passing like a drive and kick merchant. And this year he's like learned how to pass in the interior a little bit. Like the OKC has been like the worst lob throwing team in like for years. And Shai's learned a little bit how to throw lobs, but that is his strength, is throwing to the perimeter to a wide open shooter. And if it's Jared McCain, who is like healthy on the perimeter, who has like insanely high feel, like that's what Mark Daigneault really, really wants, is like guys who are really high feel on offense, and he can coach defense. Like Mark has, I think, issues being an offensive coach. I think he's a fine offensive coach, but not super creative. As a defensive coach, I'd put him against like anybody who's not named Eric Spoelstra. And so like hiding him and making sure that he is at least in the right place a lot of the time on defense, I trust Mark to get that out of him. Maybe not this season, but with like an off season and training camp and stuff. I like Sam. I prepared a little something because I know that Sam loves the consolidation trade and really wants Presti to do consolidation trades. Mm-hmm. So I've prepped it's not a slop trial on Sam Presti, but it is a slop investigation. It's sort of a targeted look at the types of deals that he's made in the past, specifically trades where he loses picks. And this is not evidence for or against you saying that Presti's a coward for not trading away picks. This is just straight information. All right. Yeah. So I wanted to start. If this is a good time to do this, then we.
Do we start with Jang, the beautiful Jang who was rerouted, or
no? We're not gonna start with Jang. We're gonna start earlier than that.
Okay.
We are gonna start where I think this rebuild began at the 2020 draft, where Sam Presti traded 2 first-round picks to move up to 17 to take Poku, and those 2 first-round picks.
I knew who they were. McDaniels and Jaden McDaniels and Emmanuel Quickly?
Jaden McDaniels and Emmanuel Quickly for Poku. Okay, so
I knew that one.
So
by the way, Muscala shot from the bubble. They also would have had the pick that became Tyrese Maxey.
Yep. Yeah.
In the same draft. Crazy.
So this is the first instance of Presti losing picks in a trade, and it was an utter disaster. The second instance is draft night 2021. Where he trades picks 34 and 36 for pick 32, which was Jeremiah Robinson Earl.
Move.
those two players ended up being Rokas Jokubaitis, who knows who that is, and
He's
Deuce
the Knicks guy,
McBride.
right? Yeah, Deuce. Yeah, I was gonna say they were both Knicks. Yeah.
They were both Knicks, and one of them was Deuce McBride, who is good. So again, a disaster. Draft night 2022, he trades 3 first-round picks, 2 of which were from the Şengün trade, for Ousmane Dieng. That's a disaster. They just spent another second round to get rid of him for Mason Plumlee.
Yeah, you skipped over that part. They traded that pick for 3, basically not fake first, but 2 that were like heavily protected first that didn't convey for a while, and the pick became Şengün. Now, whether Şengün, I know that Rockets and Thunder fans have gone back and forth about this trade a lot over the years. I don't think Şengün would have been a good fit with what the Thunder are building, to be honest with you. But he was a objectively good pick for where he went in the draft, obviously.
Extremely good player. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one is in 2022, I think in the offseason or something, or maybe during the playoffs. I don't know. They brought in JaMychal Green and a 2027 Denver first and they lost 3 total picks, 2 seconds, and the pick that became Peyton Watson, who is really good against us a lot and is
forgot
really
about that. I forgot that was originally a Thunder pick. That was if I remember correctly, was that Phoenix's pick? I think it was Phoenix's pick that you guys had.
It might have been Phoenix's pick.
Yeah, I feel like you got that in the Chris Paul trade, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, it was like, or like maybe Ricky Rubio or Kelly Oubre.
Yeah,
was
Kelly
in that.
Oubre. Yeah, some capacity. I remember that. Yeah.
That 2020 offseason was just so many fucked up trades. The next one, 2022 offseason, was an insane salary dump where they lost a second round pick. It doesn't matter. 2024 deadline, Hayward. They got Gordon Hayward for Trey Mann, Thomas Bertans, and
So what you're telling me, Nick, is that if Sam Presti trades picks, it's always a dog shit trade.
This is exactly what it is. It's
so Daryl Morey just fleeced him for Lemon and Jared McCain.
This is the argument. Presti, every time I think about this, every time Sam is like, he needs to consolidate these picks, I'm like, he fucking sucks at it.
Well, that's because he's a coward.
He's awful. He's awful at it. So he trades for Gordon Hayward, 2 seconds involved in that trade, and it goes so badly that it ends Gordon Hayward's career. He's not a professional basketball player anymore.
To be fair, I think his career was over long before that, I would say.
Yeah. He was averaging like almost 20 points, I think, for the Hornets that year.
Yeah, I mean, pseudo things. Yeah.
Controlled opposition, just making Sixers fans feel better about this trade.
Yeah.
The next time, there's only a few more. The next time, Dylan Jones for 5 second-round picks, where they have to spend another second-round pick to get off of his contract.
To dump him to the Wizards, and then he gets waived. Then he ends up back on the Knicks on a 2-way. The team that originally had that pick.
Come on, that trade though is like when you're leaving a country and you go to the strip club to get rid of all the money before you like have to change it out like at the airport. Like that's not a real spend. Like that was like, all right, we got to get rid of this shit. Like get this out of here.
Dylan Jones is like the equivalent of a beautiful woman in Europe or something. Is what you're saying?
Yeah,
that's how I felt when I watched his highlights. To be honest with you, when I was coming out of college. Yeah. You had to squint a little bit to get it, but he was an exotic player.
Yeah. So the next one, the Dylan Jones salary dump, they lose a second round pick for that. And then it's this one. It's the Jared McCain 1 first and 3 seconds for Jared McCain.
This is such a worthy rehabilitation swing, because if Jared sucks, let's just say Jared is never the same. Let's just say Jared is like Landry Shamet, for example. I know Landry's been like kind of gotten his career back on track, but one of the trades that the Sixers made at one point was they got rid of Landry Shamet, and that trade would have been fine. They sold at the highest point of Landry Shamet's value. The problem was they threw in 2 extra first-round picks, and they also gave Tobias Harris a max contract after that. That was the real problem with that. But if you trade Landry Shamet for a starting level wing in a vacuum, that's a good trade, right? Mm-hmm. But the Thunder, the point still continues to be, and the Thunder are proving that they have such a laughable amount of draft capital that they can afford to do something like this. And if Jared sucks, a year from now, they don't even have to pick up his option. They can just be like, all right, well, we tried, and we spent a pick that we were never going to use in the first place because there's no way we can use it if we have these 3 other first round picks. And then like, I think at this upcoming draft I assumed they were going to try to consolidate all these picks and go get someone in the draft, like move up to use 3 of your picks and move up to like, you know, the 8th pick in the draft or whatever.
Or if you don't want to do that, just go get like Trey Murphy or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, like if you don't want to like trade up, because we're hearing a lot of those purchases were them trying to trade up, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a hard thing to do. Like trading up, winning a trade up is very hard to do. Like, you've got to really nail your valuation. I can only think of like 2 or 3 times where that's ever worked out in the history. And one of them is Tatum, and
what about Luka as well?
Or actually, wait, no, sorry, other way around. Fultz is the bad.
Yeah, that's the trade back. Yeah,
no,
the most famous successful trade up of all time
is Luka.
And what did that turn out to be? Every pick from the 2018 draft apparently sucks. One of the greatest drafts of all time, but they all get traded, huh?
Everybody's traded,
including all of the best players, SGA, Luka, Brunson, they all get traded. Every pick in the lottery has been traded so far. That's an unbelievable stat that I saw today. Okay, so I just want to answer this person right here who said, so this is specifically talking about the Sixers. Tari Eason, Herb Jones, or Trey Murphy, the only things that can make it better, they aren't trading for Giannis if VJ is involved. I agree with that last part, by the way. I don't think they're going to trade VJ for Giannis. I've been saying I don't see that as a way of them, like, even if they get off the Paul George contract and they only have to include like a few firsts, like I think they're set on the longer term vision. I think this trade kind of is balancing the two, where like, all right, maybe now we can try to go get guys who fit better around VJ and Maxey as we move forward here. And guys like Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Tari Eason certainly would. Here's the problem. Tari Eason's own mom is mocking teams on Twitter who are saying, like, the Bulls are trying to get Tari Eason and the Rockets aren't even listening. The Pelicans, I thought of this earlier today. The parallel between, and look, we're going to New Orleans in a few weeks, you know, less than 2 weeks. We're going to New Orleans for our trip. We love the Pelicans. We love New Orleans.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out here, look at the parallels between the two teams and the directions that they went in when you think about the Memphis Grizzlies and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Memphis Grizzlies diagnosed, they both have top picks in the 2019 draft. They both have good complementary players around them. And they both diagnosed 2 different things. The Memphis Grizzlies diagnosed, hey, if Ja can never play and we can't rely on him, and he also doesn't have a ton of trade value, we should probably get it from other players on our roster while we still can to kind of rework this thing, blow it up kind of, but not fully, and then start a new track, right? So they decide to go trade those guys. They take on some bad salary to do it. They get 7 first-round picks for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Bane, and then whatever they get for Ja Morant here, we'll see. The New Orleans Pelicans, on the other hand, believe so much in their grind that they trade their first-round pick in this upcoming draft for a player that we like Derek Queen, but he was also they had another pick in that draft. They could have just taken him there. The 13th pick in the draft, I believe Derek Queen was. And they believe so much in their grind that they then turned around and they won 13 games this season. And they decided at this trade deadline, we have 4 or 5 untouchable players on this roster, which is just such a funny parallel between the two. But the reason I bring this up is they're not trading Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Like, we know that they're not doing it. And to be fair, they have put out there, if someone wants to give a Desmond Bane style package for Herb Jones or Trey Murphy, then we'll be open to it. I think if Trey Murphy would be the one of the two that we could see a team just being like the Thunder or one of these teams. I before yesterday, I would have said the Jazz could be a team that could just throw 4 first-round picks at them. Someone could go out there and just be like, fuck it. Trey Murphy is
Thunder.
What's that?
It could still be the Thunder.
No, they could. Honestly, yeah. I actually had this thought, and we'll see between now and tomorrow whether this happens.
Okay.
My thought was, does this make Isaiah Joe more expendable? And if it does, he's one of the few tradable contracts on that team. Like the Usman Jang's gone. Jared McCain obviously has a smaller deals, and they're not going to flip him. But you have Kenrich Williams, you have Isaiah Joe, you have Lou Dort, who has a player option and just signed a new agent, if I remember correctly, at this deadline as well. You have the potential to just go and trade for someone in that mold at this deadline, and then McCain can eat the 17 minutes a game or whatever that Isaiah Joe was playing. So I think that's still a possibility, to be honest. But I would be surprised if we saw the Thunder make 2 splash moves at a trade deadline. It's just not really in their nature.
Is this a splash move? I mean, we love Jared McCain, but like at the end of the day, this is a
not
rookie.
not a splash move. It's a splash move for Sam Presti at the trade deadline. I would say that much.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, this is a splash move for Daryl Morey at the trade deadline. Neither of these guys, outside of the James Harden move, and which was its own thing entirely, Morey never makes trades where he's trading making real decent trades. Although I guess Caleb Martin for Quentin Grimes last year looked much better at one point.
George Hill from the Thunder.
George Hill. It is very funny that Presti and Morey are they trade with each. He only trades with certain GMs, and Presti is one of them. And I feel like we've lost every single trade that we've made with you guys, but he still keeps doing it.
Even before Morey, the Al Horford trade, the Al Horford dump was pre-Morey, right?
Yeah, no, that was Morey. That was Morey on draft night.
Oh, okay.
First Morey draft night, the Al Horford salary dump, which the pick is now going to convey this year, which we got a year and a half, 2 years of Danny Green basically out of, and then he basically had to retire. And then you have the George Hill for 4 seconds or whatever we traded at that deadline. Then you also have, going back to Houston, the Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook trade, if I remember correctly, was also that. He's just been getting it back for the original Harden trade ever since it happened, is what I'm trying to get at here.
It's so funny because they are also just 2 completely different types of guys. Like Sam Presti talks twice a year and is very all business, and Daryl Morey feels like he's just always asleep.
He's asleep, or unless he's going on a podcast, it's it's all millennial women do is eat hot chip, twerk, be on their phone, be bisexual. That Daryl Morey is all Daryl Morey do is sleep, make salary dump trade at deadline, go on DoorDash and podcast. That's his set of hobbies that he has, other than obviously crypto.
Daryl Morey replacing Chuck Klosterman in the Bill Simmons rotation after he retires as a GM is going to be so special. It's going to be unbelievable. He's going to slot right in.
I don't agree with anything Trill said about millennial women. I think you're all beautiful. I think you're all wonderful. I think this is all of our female listeners, all 3 of you.
Sam knows his audience, by the way. Sam knows his audience. If you're recently divorced, I know you're a millennial now, so you're in your 30s. Mm-hmm. Things probably haven't gone well the first time around.
I'm a second draft guy.
If you play that audio backwards, it is a full marriage proposal with a prenup. That's
straight up. I'm
second. Hold on, we need to. Sam being a second draft husband is an all-time line.
I think I see myself as sort of a Hassan.
You're a Jared McCain. You're a Jared McCain of some kind.
I think I'm more of a Hassan Whiteside. I got out there, I tested the market, I kind of washed out of the league for a little bit. I had to go to the Great North for a little bit, and now I'm back out here and I'm trying to get that
Sam's been living in exile, but he is willing to relocate for the right one.
Yeah, ready or not, as Hassan Whiteside once said. Bundle up, it's cold out there.
Cold world.
Cold world. Yeah.
So let's talk before Sam needs to get out of here. Yeah. Sam, give us your thoughts on the Anthony Davis trade. I can bring up the details if you want.
No, I know them pretty well because my initial thought was, oh my God, the Wizards already ruined it. was like the first, like I panicked. Because I'm very close to this like Wizards thing, and I was like, oh my fucking God, they really like ruined their team for fucking Trae Young and Anthony Davis. And then the details, because this is why you never just react blind to the things, because then the details came out. I was like, oh, these picks are like fake. Like none of these picks are real.
Yeah, so just to kind of summarize what they actually gave up in the Anthony Davis trade. Sorry, I'm going through Sham's timeline, and he has 4 tweets about Jock Landale. So I got to get through, all of this and dig through here. So they traded. So it was Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. So they salary dumped a bunch onto the Wizards, who now aren't going to have cap space. For this upcoming season. There's like 2 teams left with cap space, by the way, for this upcoming season. I think it's Chicago and the Lakers, if I remember correctly. So the Wizards sent Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley. The best player they sent in this trade for Anthony Davis was Marvin Bagley.
Yes.
And now now we finally get to live in the timeline where Marvin Bagley goes to the Mavericks instead of Luka. That's
the number 2 pick.
That's
they traded up to number 2 after they traded up for 3 and another first.
So 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders, but those 2 firsts, as Sam points out. By the way, I don't know if you guys caught this in the Shams tweet though. Shams, that pick, I know that pick. That's the pick the Sixers sent in the Reggie Jackson salary dump for Jared Butler, and it's the worst from the Harden trade when we sent him to the Clippers. It's the worst of the Clippers, the Rockets, or the Thunder. And Shams just called it the Thunder's first round pick because we all know that's what's going to. Technically, it's not yet, but it will be on draft night.
Yes.
And hey, that pick might not be 30. It might be 29 if Shea stays out for a while.
I was going to say, if Shea's out for a month, then you could. Shea got hurt at the best time to get hurt for his MVP case because we have the All-Star break coming up. So the fact that you have that, he'll probably still make, because he's barely missed any games so far. I think he only has to play like half of the remaining games to win MVP.
Sit out, Shea. Sit out. You don't want to risk this. Your playoff is here. Jaylen Brown.
I already said this. If I honestly think that the CIA needs to give the Boston Media Mafia a medal if Jaylen Brown wins MVP in a year in which his on-offs, his team is better when he's not on the court. If that happens, it will be the greatest achievement in the history of the BMM. That's never happened before.
Right
There's
now,
no way it has.
I'm telling you right now, the Boston Media Mafia is warming up like Mariano Rivera in the bullpen right now. Like the cutter is there. Enter Sandman is going to play if Shea misses the.
Apparently, Jaylen Brown could win Player of the Month with a 53 true shooting or something like that, and like a near negative assist to turnover ratio. So there's nothing that he can't do with the power of the Boston Media Mafia behind him.
We'll see. We'll see you in the playoffs. This is going to be cinema.
That's some Bam Adebayo true shooting from our MVP.
And he's better. And he's better than that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think it would probably be Cade.
I think it'd be Cade too.
Because they're the number 1 seed, and and they might win 60 games, like Tom said.
Yeah, probably. That
would be Cade. But Jokic still isn't disqualified. Wemby still is not disqualified. Although he will be probably at some point. And then SGA only has to play half of the remaining games, if I remember correctly.
And there's only 5. We only have 5 games, I think, before the All-Star break, the Thunder do, and then he gets reevaluated afterwards. So if he's just back after the All-Star break or just misses a couple games, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. But you are correct in that someone could technically pass them in record here if he misses some time.
Oh, for sure.
So
the other pick is the Warriors pick.
The other pick is the Warriors pick from the Jordan Poole Chris Paul trade, which is top 20 protected. So they basically got 2 late firsts, AJ Johnson and Marvin Bagley, and 3 seconds for Anthony Davis a year after trading Luka for him.
Do we want to do the autopsy on the final return for Luka Doncic?
Yeah, let's do it. Because it's this plus Max Christie and a Lakers first round pick.
Yes.
I mean, it is the worst net trade in the history, but they got lucky and they jumped up to the first and they jumped up to the first pick in the draft and they got Cooper Flagg, who's looking like what Sam thought he was going to be finally, and he's averaging like 35 points a game over the last 3 games.
Mhm.
And I would be suicidal if I were a Mavs fan and we did not.
Yeah, I was
let
gonna say
the
that saved everyone for a
I
while.
still think they're kind of in piss and shit though. They
I mean,
have
it's
to
not
get-
good.
They have to nail this pick. They don't have their draft pick for the next 3 years after that.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, this also telegraphs though that they are probably going to trade Kyrie, which
Yeah.
I think is contingent on Kyrie kind of looking good when he comes back. Though is the other
Sure.
kind of thing, you know, like so.
You're going to need him to have like a Mickey Mouse March this season probably in
Yeah.
order to get something for him via trade value.
Yeah. So So that's pretty interesting. So, but here's the other thing. I don't think that's a bad trade by the Mavs because I think that this just was Anthony Davis's value.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that there was anything else out there that they could have gotten that I would have felt good about. Like they missed their window to trade him. They should have traded him after the season.
Yes.
They should have been like, "Oh, we fucked up. We got Cooper Flag now. Let's go. Let's move on." But instead, they waited, and he could not stay healthy. And the Wizards buy him at the lowest point of his potential value in a trade. And so from the Mavericks perspective, I get it. I think just moving on is the right thing to do. Like that, you were never going to salvage this thing.
No.
There's nothing you could have possibly done that would have made you feel better about this.
It looks bad, but just like this is what happens when you didn't trade him early enough. It's the same thing with those Raptors moves. All those Raptors moves that they made where they waited too long to trade their guys. It's like, this is what happens when you trade you like in a vacuum. Like I don't have a problem with the return you got in that moment because yes, that's probably the best you were going to do, but you're a moron because you could have gotten more by getting in front of this thing earlier. So
yeah.
And they have to make sure that, you know, it's Groyper Flag's team, you know. They have to make sure that Mr. Despite the Loss is taken care of. They have to make sure that Mr. Nevertheless She Persisted is taken care of. You know,
Did you see Ox tweet that was Anthony Davis going to Washington might be the thing that finally gets us universal health care?
That is awesome. Oh my god.
Ock had a great one. Ock's screen name right now is he professed and confessed to being a demean. It fucking kills me. So good. But here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of like this move for the Wizards because the price is right. Like, you're not gonna have a reason, like they don't need all of these first round picks, you know what I'm saying? Like some of these guys, not that they're guys they have are like necessarily good, but like get a real player. Anthony Davis will play his, 36 games a year. He'll be pretty good during those times. You can do a really funny thing where you pull both Alex Sarr and Anthony Davis aside and tell them both that they're the scoring power forward and the other guy is there to be the center for them. And it's just like it just works out like in a lot of ways for both of those guys. So I think it gives them a baseline level of competence. I think it gives Trae Young, gives them a season to kind of have a little bit of baseline competence around their young guys and see what happens. I think at the bare minimum, what this does is it gives the Wizards next year. We'll see what they walk away from this draft with. They get to look at all their guys and they get to say, okay, it's time to come bait on like Bub Carrington, for example. Keyshawn George looks good. Bilal, maybe he bounces back. He shows us something, or Bub comes back, shows us something.
Bounces back from the 10 good games he had as a sophomore.
Yeah, I know. I'm not hoping. I'm gonna be honest. But
good defender, but I don't know. The offense is just rough.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this because I kind of agree with what that person is saying in the comments right now, which is that the problem is that they're probably going to overpay both Trae and AD.
If that happens, it'll be bad. Yeah.
But I will say the alternative to that is there was nothing you could do with the cap space this summer unless you were just doing. And now there are enough teams between the Grizzlies and the Nets and the Bulls that are going to have the ability just to take salary dumps.
Yeah.
That I don't think you're getting a ton of value from that. Like you'll get some value from it, but we're seeing with the Bulls right now, they're mostly just getting second round picks. And the only thing I don't like about this is like would this deal not have been on the table I guess because of Chris Middleton and his expiring contract being like a trade chip? That's probably why they had to do it. But like they could have just taken him into salary cap space if they missed out on what they wanted to do this summer.
Yeah.
And I just look at it like if they were to trade for AD this summer after the draft and what they know what the draft looks like. Because my whole thing is like, what if they get Boozer in the draft? Or what if they get Caleb Wilson in the draft? Then it's kind of similar to Flag. Like I think that Flag has just looked way better since Anthony Davis has been out of the lineup because AD is someone who, while he's very talented when he does play, he's someone that has a certain amount of, gravitas, if you will, and he's going to need to be a little bit of a hub of your offense, and he clogs the paint. And I just don't think that Anthony Davis is ever going to be the Anthony Davis of the past from an availability standpoint and from a talent standpoint. And I think that while it's a worthy flyer if they don't completely marry themselves to AD, because I think we've talked about this over and over again. Of all the guys that were available, the two guys me and Sam kept saying over and over again, other than I think LaMelo, we were like the guys that if you're going to do like a reclamation project for them, the five guys that were like theoretically available, it was like Zion, Anthony Davis, LaMelo, Trey, and Ja. I felt pretty decent about LaMelo and AD at some point if they can get healthy, being like good, valuable NBA players that can help you. And I felt like Trey could also get back on that track. Ja and Zion, I'm just like, I'm done with them. Like, I'm like, I think that they're beyond the point of saving.
Pat Riley does not agree with you.
Pat Riley wants to trade for Ja and give him the, look, when you have the chance, I have a fun fact for you. Sam. I'm sure you didn't see me send this in the Discord earlier.
No.
There are two players that average over 18 points per game and are at the bottom of true shooting in the NBA this season.
Okay.
The lowest is Ja Morant in true shooting for anyone who averages over 18 points a game. The second lowest is LaMelo Ball, but LaMelo had a horrible start to the season and has their offense is like elite when he's on the court. They have like a 123 offensive rating because of his playmaking and his passing and his like even with just Con and Miller, it's not nearly as good as when LaMelo's on the court. And the third guy on that list is Bam Adebayo. So the Miami Heat could be staring down the barrel of having two of the least efficient 18 points and up per game scorers in the NBA this year if they miss out on Giannis and they end up trading for Ja Morant instead. But I just think that so let's just look at their starting lineup for next year, okay? Because Trey's not going to play the rest of this year. AD's not going to play the rest of this year. So you have Trey at the point guard. You have Trey Johnson at shooting guard, I guess. A lot of shooting and creation. I just think that defensive backcourt this is kind of similar to what the Jazz did, where you're just like, all right, if we're going to have small guards and we're going to have them be some of our best players on the team, we're going to need, and like liabilities in the backcourt defensively, we're going to need 2 7-footers in the front court, and they're going to need to be amazing defenders. And I don't think Anthony Davis is that anymore, to be clear, but he's still good enough on defense to be like part of a good defense for sure. And it's going to be probably Trey Young, Trey Johnson, which I think is, I don't know if that's salvageable defensively, but offensively, it's obviously going to be fireworks. And then you're going to have Keyshawn George, you're going to have Sarr, and you're going to have Anthony Davis. I wonder, I'm assuming that they just wait and see how the draft goes. And then if they get like Boozer, Caleb Williams, or Fleming, or Peterson, I think DeBansta's the only one that they would draft that they would be like, all right, we'll consider extending both AD and Trey. Because they're going to look at this situation and be like, we can't give a bunch of money to Anthony Davis if he's blocking Boozer's development. We can't give a bunch of money to Trey Young if he's blocking Peterson's development potentially.
I think that's their plan, to be totally honest. I think that's on purpose, that like what they're doing there. I think that they've lined up these guys because Anthony Davis is only a year and a half left, or is he 2 years?
He has 2 years.
2 years after this one.
Yeah, 1 year for Trey, and he technically could restructure his contract this offseason because he has a player option, and
Okay.
2 years left for Anthony Davis. But once again, my fear here is Rich Paul knows. Rich Paul's been like, let's get you to a team. The thing about why these deadlines are so crazy now is because agents, the smart agents, are like, hey, let's get you to a team now so you can get your contract extension. Yeah. And that's what I think could potentially happen with the Wizards here, and they handcuff themselves. But if they draft Boozer or they draft Caleb Wilson, maybe they say, well, sorry, Anthony Davis, we're just going to ride out the contract.
I'll say this: if they extend either Trae Young or Anthony Davis this offseason, I will feel significantly worse about both of those moves, and I will think they were like actively bad. That's it. I think that you have to see these guys. If I'm the Wizards, I'm seeing these guys as installing a baseline floor level of competence that gives you the ability to evaluate your young guys and who is good. And I think that's the name of the game here. If you're treating these guys like they're actually going to be an important part of your future without even taking a season to see that, you're foolish.
They are in danger of being like, oh, we asked out Cam Boozer and Anthony Davis and Alex R all in the same night, and they showed up at the same restaurant, posting up at the same table. That is definitely
a very
a fear
Bill analogy.
Yeah.
You show up at the restaurant, you invite 3 different women, and you think 2 of them are going to bail, but then they all show up, and what do you do, House?
What do you do, House?
Your Wizards just did this, House.
Bill,
we're going to keep them, Bill.
Why were you doing that, Bill? Bill was the actual guy in that screenshot who was like, "Hey, beautiful," and it went to 82 women. It's like, damn, they ain't all sent separately. And then left the conversation. That was actually Bill originally.
I will say the history of trading for these guys on massive contracts that are at the age that Anthony Davis is and the availability that Anthony Davis is, not a good history. I don't think that. I think what is the best case scenario? Like maybe the Chris Paul track where Chris Paul gets his career back on track. That's the best case scenario we've ever had with one of these contracts, right?
Yeah. I'll say this though. Even if like a disaster and he's just basically like dead salary, you are going to have a pretty valuable expiring in a year and a half. So
if they don't extend him, yeah.
If they don't extend him again, yes. So
Sam's so confident in his Wizards front office that he's like, they're not going to, and I'm like, I do think that Ted Leonsis is probably getting a little impatient and probably is like, hey, some of these guys are available for really cheap. They checked in on Sabonis, was another guy that they checked. Like, these aren't moves that the front office in the way that they displayed things, right? Like when they got the job, how they've handled themselves throughout this process has been kind of, I wouldn't say it's like hinky, but it's kind of Presti. I mean, he worked for Presti. Some of these guys work for Presti. Some of them work with the Clippers before this. And it has been kind of like, let's be patient. Let's, not push in our trips, whatever. And yes, you are year 3 of this rebuild, 4 of this rebuild. And at a certain point, you do have to speed up the rebuild a little bit. But most of these successful rebuilds that we have seen are getting normal star / role, high-level role player guys that want to play a role instead of Anthony Davis and Trae Young. That's all. It's better than what they were. I'm not like they're very obviously more talented. I get that. And it's not like they've gotten I think Sarr is going to be really good. Like I have taken the L on that one, and like I completely overreacted to George is fine. Like he'll be decent. And I do think in the long term, those are good guys to build around. But this draft is going to, as I've said before, time and time again, I do think it kind of determines whether they sink or swim in the upcoming years. And this kind of only accelerates that, in my opinion. So we'll see. When they get a contract extension this summer, they'll probably feel pretty good about themselves.
Well, starting tomorrow at 9 a.m., I will be offline.
Sam is going to join Slop Fest tomorrow after he gets out of work, and we're going to reveal all the trades that have happened to him when he was offline. So tune in for
Yeah,
that. I'll be here at noon tomorrow.
We're calling it the memento stream.
The memento stream.
The Slop memento stream.
He has a photo of me. Don't believe his lies.
Yeah, don't trust Nick's lies. He's gonna try to tell you that the Thunder aren't good at trading up. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. He's lying. He's lying, folks. All right. I will see everyone after the trade deadline tomorrow, and you can all tell me what a bozo I am then.
Let's go. Let's get it.
All right.
Nick, before we get out of here,
Mhm.
Are you ready for the Charlotte Hornets century?
It seems like it's happening, and I think that literally as soon as they trade Miles Bridges, it's gonna start for them.
When
Like,
they
it
turn
is-
Miles Bridges into like a 4-5, and they can run like double big lineups,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
they have like the Musa lineups, and they have whoever they get in that spot,
Mhm.
then they just have all of this creation and shooting and dribbling and passing and they're just this unstoppable force on offense. They traded for Coby White today. They basically said, Colin Sexton, you're not. They basically said, let's turn Colin Sexton into better Colin Sexton
Yeah,
and Coby White.
great move.
That's kind of what this trade was. They flipped your guy Usman Chang, and they got back Colin Sexton. Then they're going to buy out Mike Conley, who I cannot believe he might go back to the Timberwolves.
Is that real? Is that what's gonna happen?
The people are theorizing that he could get bought out and go back to the Timberwolves because that's
Is that legal?
if you get traded again. If you're traded and then you get traded again and you get bought out, it is legal. Now, the complication with this is that they wouldn't be able to aggregate Conley's salary that quickly in a trade like this usually. But if the Hornets use like a trade exception or something to take in his salary and then they buy him out, it's technically they can do that. And for Wolves fans, I hope for their sake that they do not, because apparently Conley has just been a pervert about playing Mike Conley real minutes. And like he's just washed. He's 38 years old or however old he is. Like he's just beyond the point where he can play real impactful minutes. But yeah, so they sent Usman Chang, Colin Sexton, and 3 second-round picks for Coby White. Now I'm probably a little bit lower on Coby White and his kind of archetype than like the teams that were like, oh, the contenders that were like, oh, just go get Coby White. Like outside of the Pistons, I didn't really see a good team that made sense for him. I know a lot of people wanted him on the Rockets. Some people wanted him on the Thunder. I kind of like a fit with Charlotte more than I would with other teams, mainly because they are a team that just has all of this creation. They're a frantically paced team. They're going to run a lot. They're going to move the ball. And Coby, for his defensive faults and some of his limitations in general, he is someone who can get hot and he can play within a system like that, I think, where he is, he's not going to be a featured lead ball handler in this system, but when LaMelo goes to the bench just to have some creation from the guard spot, to continue to have basically Miller, Khan, LaMelo, him, they're going to have a ton of creation juice. They're just going to be fun. Like, I think that they have a chance to really, and this was the kind of move I wanted them to make. Like, I didn't think they had to be like, I said they could have went a number of different directions. They could have got a bench wing, a bench guard. They could have gotten a big that could play with Musa and then off the bench or replace Kalkbrenner. And this was the right kind of move. That's a good way to put it. They're becoming very Pacers coded from last year, where it's just really, really hard to guard them.
Yeah.
And if they add more and more guys like this, it's just going to kind of continue to run up the score. And I can't wait to watch all these guys play together.
Yeah, Call Sheet Knipple is really changing their lives.
That's
It's really unbelievable stuff what they're doing. By the way, another detail of this trade, Usman Chang going to the Bulls. The last time the Thunder sent a player to the Bulls, it was the Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso trade.
a win-win if I've ever seen one.
A win-win if I've ever seen one.
Is Usman Chang gonna play for the Bulls, do you think? I mean, they need forwards.
I don't know who is on that team right now. They've made so many trades.
Yeah.
I literally have no clue who is on that team. I know Josh
Still
Giddey's on
Io.
the team.
They have Josh Giddey, Io, Matas Buzelis. Vucevic is gone. They have
And
Anthony
then-
Simons now.
Usman Jang's and broken Usman Jang, Noah Essengay.
And then they have Patrick Williams is still hanging around. Isaac Okoro.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. So they got a squad.
They
I mean,
got
it's
a
not
ton
good.
of second-round picks at this deadline. That's really all they got. But they got
Oh, yeah.
a ton of. Io's probably the best player left that they might trade. Maybe they just wait to see if they can get him for a scam contract in the offseason. But it was time for them to move on. It was time a year ago for them to move on from Coby White. They should have gotten ahead of it. Oh, they got Jaden Ivey too. Jaden Ivey's there.
Oh yeah, that I fucking forgot about that.
Are they turning into the new Troy Weaver second draft team? I mean, their whole team is second draft guys.
Wow, AK Kush got me feeling like the white Troy Weaver. Indeed, that is really awesome shit.
Spoken on that AK.
He's smoking the AK in a real way. Oh my god.
So yeah, the Bulls. The Bulls, I think they had a nice deadline. Like they only got seconds, but they basically traded everyone they should have traded except for maybe if they trade Io upcoming.
I mean, we still have what 20 hours. Well, they could trade Io. Of course, they could trade Io.
They could trade Jalen Smith too. Technically, he's 6'9", as someone points out, which might be too tall for this roster.
Usman Jang's starting center is really what we're staring at down the barrel of. It's going to be
or Matas Buzelis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they might be making more trades. And by the way, I don't think they're doing this on purpose. I think they're just doing this because they view this as a way to like save money and be a cap space team this summer, and they didn't want to pay guys. And because I'm sure Coby White wanted $20 million, and they were like, "We're not paying you $20 million," which is why they should have traded him a year ago when they knew they didn't want to pay him. But that's besides the point. And I do wonder if this is them finally kind of subconsciously pulling the plug, where they're like, we can be mid to bad for the rest of this season. The Hornets are going to pass them. I mean, the Coby thing kind of just, I don't know how much win or added value he really brings, but I think that they've kind of just accepted that the Hornets are going to pass them. If the Bucks don't trade Giannis, the Bucks could then still pass the Bulls technically.
Yeah.
That hinges on a lot of things. But if they do stay there, then they're most likely to end up in somewhere from the 10 to the 12 seed. And we've seen teams like the Spurs and the Mavericks and years ago the Pelicans jump up in the draft from that spot to get someone. And as I said before, all you have to do is have your hat in the ring for this draft. You just got to get one of the top 3 or 4 picks, and you're feeling pretty fucking good. And I would certainly start to feel a lot better about the Chicago Bulls if they were able to, push in that direction and get a blue chip prospect in the door to go along with Buzelis and Giddey and whoever else is left on the team.
Do we know how much cap space they're going to have? Because I was listening to, I don't remember which podcast I was listening to today. They were talking about Walker Kessler and how he's an RFA. And I was like, what team is going to like kind of throw a bag at him and try to make Utah overpay for him?
That would
like,
be a good one.
Like 30 mil a year or something for like 3 years. Like if you throw Walker Kessler 3 for $90, is Utah going to match that?
I'm pulling up their books right now.
And would that be fine? Because I mean, at this point, the Chicago Bulls don't have a center over 6'10", so they would be. I mean, like Giddey, Walker Kessler, Matas Buzelis. I mean, you've got 3 of the whitest team I've ever seen in my life. But like,
it's really just the Patrick Williams money that's like bad. I mean, that's $18 million a year for a player who probably should be on a veteran's minimum contract. Yeah. Josh Giddey makes $25 million. Patrick Williams makes 18. Isaac Noscoro makes 11.8. Jalen Smith makes 9.4. Trey Jones makes 8. Io is a free agent, so he technically is not on the books. Matas Buzelis 5.7. Noah Essengay 5.7. Julian Phillips not guaranteed, a team option at 2.4. So they have $86 million on the books next year. I think they're going to have like 70 in cap space.
I mean,
something around that, 70 to 80 maybe. They might even be able to create more.
Yeah, and Usman Jang is also going to be a restricted free agent, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
So like,
it hasn't updated on their books that they have him, but I think you are correct. Then they could just waive his cap hold if they
Mhm.
really wanted to get access. Like if their goal is to get access to cap space, they can create a lot of cap space. Like I think that they're basically staring down the barrel of being one of the few teams in the NBA that has that. So whether they want to take on bad salary and get picks, or they want to try to do the RFA thing and make the Jazz pay, because right now you're right. Like Lowry Markkanen makes $50 million, Jaren Jackson Jr. makes $50 million, which kicks in next year.
okay,
Ace Bailey was a high pick of the draft, so he's got a big cap hit. They're going to have another cap hit from the lottery pick this upcoming year. They have a lot of guys on the books who sneakily make a decent amount of money. They're going to have to pay up for Walker. Like they might have to go into the tax to keep him, if they want to fill out the rest of their roster with decent players and stuff.
Okay, so one of their options is they throw a bag at Walker Kessler. Here's the other option, okay? This is big brain shit, okay? So they have a GOAT, right? Michael Jordan, their best player, one of the GOATs. They add a second GOAT. They throw the max at LeBron. LeBron comes to Chicago. They let him wear Michael's
Retirement tour?
number. Retirement tour from Chicago. A story.
no.
He tries to get them another ring, a 7th ring.
Oh no!
I mean, it could happen. It could do it. You're shaking your head.
No,
It's
no.
doable.
LeBron's going back to the Cavs. They're going to do the old man team with Donovan Mitchell to make him happy next year. James Harden, LeBron, Jalen Tyson, Mitchell, Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and they're going
apparently
to trade. They're going to trade Mobley for Giannis. So it's going to be Mitchell, Giannis, LeBron.
Okay,
and
hold
James
on.
Harden.
Adrian just said apparently they're going to make things uncomfortable for Detroit and Utah for Kessler. Well, Duren, they would just match that.
Yeah,
Duren would just even if they max him, they would match that.
Yeah, Detroit should max Duren.
Walker Kessler's a different question because now they have, because Detroit has the flexibility to be able to make the money work, right? Because I'm thinking about like I just looked at the Jazz's cap sheet. It's really just those two big contracts. I think they've already factored in this math.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think they factored in like we have basically it's like the only decent sized contracts they have outside of Jared Jackson and Walker Kessler are like Ace Bailey and whoever they draft in this upcoming. Like George is still George was the 23 draft, so you got an extra year before his potential max kicks in. It's after next year where they're going to start to have real money on the books. Like if George makes an all NBA team in the next 2 years, and then they're paying him $50 million a year, then they might have to trade like Lowry Markkanen or something. But until then, I think they'll be fine. And I think that they want to spend. I think their owner's fine with spending money. That's why I think they did the Jared Jackson Jr. trade. They're just sick of being losers, basically.
I was listening to you guys talk about the Jazz post this trade and what their outlook is for next year. And then I have a thought about the 2025 draft class. But regarding Utah, I feel like you brought up the starting lineup of Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lowry at the 3, Triple J at the 4,
Jumbo ball.
At the 5. Jumbo ball, super jumbo ball. And I'm like, that is a talented starting 5, and I think their offense could be really good. I worry looking at that starting 5 that there is one player who can dribble, and it's Keontae George.
And there's also 0 point of attack defenders.
Yeah, nobody's going to guard like it's like, oh, Shea's in town.
Ace is probably the best point of attack defender, and Ace will get destroyed by lead creators if he's like.
Yeah, and it feels like they're gearing up to kind of be like the Charlotte Hornets in the sense of like we want to run. It's all offense, but like Charlotte Hornets has way many more creators than the Utah Jazz do, especially in that starting lineup. It's like Brandon Miller would be probably the second best creator on the Jazz. LaMelo would be the best. Khan would probably be the best. Like I'm skeptical. I think that the Jazz will be better next year. I'm not locking them into like a playoff spot or like.
No,
even
I think
like,
I would have them in the play-in range if they
like,
just keep their roster as it is.
Yeah, like 8 to 10 range maybe, and that's assuming that like no other team also gets better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think everybody is like, this is great for the Jazz, or at least some people are like, it's great for the Jazz, and I'm like, their team still doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
They are missing a lot of like crucial pieces that like really good teams have.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. I think they're betting on size, shooting, and Will Hardy just figuring it out, which he kind of has. He has had them more competitive with less. You know what I mean? Like we
Mhm.
talked about, like the fact that like I think if Ace Bailey went to the Sixers, it would have been a disaster. Nick Nurse does not know how to coach guys in that capacity, where if they have issues with dribbling or creation or any sort of like just creating for themselves off the bounce is a struggle. He kind of just doesn't know what to do with those guys except put them in the corner and say shoot. Whereas someone like Hardy has figured out like modern spacing, how to get guys involved, running actions for them, getting them going off of the ball, kind of figuring out a way to make them effective. And it's going to need to be that style of offense. But the point that a lot of people have brought up, and I don't think it's a bad point, is that this might be the worst passing starting five in NBA history in terms of Ace, your wing rotation being Ace, JJJ, and Lowry. Like Walker Kessler might be or George are probably the best passers in the starting lineup. And Kessler had, when he was healthy this year, had like a turnover percentage of like 22 or something. So I do wonder what that ends up looking like. Now, we also don't know who they get in the draft. Like, if they get Peterson in the draft, that's the one that I've been wondering, where I'm like, what do they do if they get Peterson in the draft? Because then it's like, do you just trade Lowry and or do you like explore Ace Bailey trades where it's like, oh cool, we just got like a superstar shooting guard, and like Ace is gonna, because of some of like, he's not a disastrous defender, but he's not a great defender. And if you're putting him, you're going to play him at the 2 in these lineups.
Well, I don't know if they're going to move off of plays lazily like super quickly, but Disgrace Bailey, yes, that's why I came up with that nickname the other day. But
so many things you could do with that name.
I know, but I mean, honestly, the Utah Jazz in particular, this is the only team you can see this for, I think. If they get the number 1 pick, I don't think Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer are locks to go number 1 because of the BYU situation. Their owner is paying for AJ DeBonsa to go to BYU. He's their guy, and sometimes look, I don't think this is a good idea.
If the Angels have any say, they're not taking DeBansta. But if the owner says you have to take DeBansta, then you're right. Like I think that if they were to have they kind of, other than Peterson's the one that I'm like, Peterson has no connection to them, but they have the Boozer connection with his dad.
Right.
And then they have the Peterson connection. And I think his dad literally works for the Jazz. Like he works
the DeBansa thing. Yeah.
The consultant. And then, you have the DeBansa thing with the BYU connection. So there's definitely avenues for them to explore, in terms of, players that they can add to this core. I don't think that's most of these things, like, what do we do if we, like, you just figure it out. Like, most teams figure it out. Most teams don't trade Jared McCain for a first-round pick on his second year of his rookie contract because he had an injury and he has a bad stretch. You know what I mean?
We've been sitting here for so long, I forgot that happened. That's a good reminder. Thank you so much.
You're going to have fun. He's Jared, by the way, we didn't get a chance to talk about it while Sam was here. You talked about them worried about like building a culture and locker room fit stuff. Jared is like one of the best vibes guys in the history of the NBA. Like everyone loves Jared. He's going to fit in great with the TikTok teens on OKC. He's going to be up there when they're doing the post-game celebrations, talking to the sideline reporter. Like he is such a perfect fit with that locker room.
He is going to introduce aura farming tools to Shea that he's never heard of.
It's special.
Shea with painted fingernails is going to like make people lose their minds online. YouTube comment sections are going to literally be ending their own lives when
the aura
Shea
is going to be off the chart. Yeah,
it's going to be off the fucking charts. But
someone said OKC has the best TikTok algorithm in the league, which is definitely true, by the way, and especially since Larry Ellison bought the app, and now it's only filled with conservative propaganda. So
yeah,
OKC
absolutely,
definitely getting love and shine on there. By the way, also I do just want to recognize this. I did see my friend texted me, "What the fuck?" and I was like, "Oh, what happened?" Jeff Stoutland, Eagles legend, offensive line coach, one of the greats, is stepping down. It's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Wow,
Hate to see
RIP.
that, but I always thought there was a chance that he could end up leaving. But yeah, RIP Jeff Stoutland. You brought me many great years of offensive line play, and we will miss you, King.
R.I.P. Hey, go Birds. I'm a
Go
Lions
Birds,
fan,
baby.
but I like
I know.
I
Go
like the
Birds, baby.
Here's what I wanted to say about the 2025 draft, and this is I'm going to get controlled opposition accusations again, because I was thinking like, how good are these three guys, Khan, Cooper, and VJ, in 2025? And I was like, I think this is one of the few drafts you can say this about, where there's three players that have like a 5 to 10% chance to be their franchise GOAT. I think the hardest one, I think, is going to be Cooper, because Dirk has the MVP.
Khan's got such an easy path. It's
Khan's-
competition is just like.
As far as I'm concerned, Khan's already done it.
I was
He's
going to say, Khan is competing with the player that's currently on his team in LaMelo.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
And he's
those.
already better than LaMelo, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know about that, but
Cooper-
they're both really good.
Cooper is competing with Dirk. Dirk has it over Luka.
I don't know if it can be Luka, because Luka never won an MVP. He only got to a finals. They never won the finals.
No, it's Dirk.
It goes right now. It would be Dirk, Luka, and then Flag. Like I mean, like Flag's already on the right track.
And like Cooper has equity to get an MVP, and if they are good enough at building a team, they have equity to win a title. I mean, any team can win a title. Shit changes in the NBA all the time. Like Cooper,
the bar for VJ is just the fucking moon, though, because even with the Sixers and all of their buffoonery over the years, think about the great players that they've had: Joel, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, even Maxey on the team right now. Like he's clearly levels below those guys. But like for a team that has kind of just always stepped on their own dick over and over again, they have had an absurd amount of talent over the years. And I love VJ, and I hope that he reaches the heights that the organization thinks he can reach. But he has such a far way to go relative to these other, because the only competition Flag has is Dirk and Luka. Khan has no competition. The Sixers have like 5 or 6 guys that reached MVP status in the league. So, and they've just been around longer than most teams. So that's kind of par for the course for some of these teams. Thaddeus Young, thank you for bringing up that another one. Now once again, the Rutgers guys have been, and so has VJ, have been very up and down this year. This top 5, like I would even extend, like I know I've made fun of Ace and done disgrace Bailey and blah, blah, blah. If you think about the average, like 5th guy in any given top 5 in a draft, I don't think all of these guys are just completely bust proof to me.
Yeah. They're all awesome. Yeah.
They're all just like clearly, at least like they will be starters in this league. It feels like, and if that is the case, there are so few drafts that have floors that high. If you go throughout history, they all have at least one guy that just fucking sucked in the top 5 or was just like a bench player or a fringe rotation guy or whoever. Like this draft really does have the best floor that I've ever seen from a top 5 in a draft.
If you're setting the over-under on amount of all-star games played in this top 5, is it like 35?
It's a lot. I mean,
it's a fucking crazy amount.
Assuming health for Flag, Khan, VJ, even if you want to extend to like or Harper, even if you want to extend to like Derek Queen, some of the other guys that might, Cedric Howard, like some other guys that have flashed so far but have like a long way to go. Yeah, we could have like 7 guys from this draft that are like make an all-star team, and Khan and Flag at least I think have a chance to be, like, and then VJ probably, VJ and Harper probably slightly behind them, have a chance to be guys that are like 5 to 10 time all-stars if everything goes right for them. Also, hold on, no, Jaeger might be the best net of all time in 2028, even if he sucks. That's a great comment.
Sean Marks needs to wake up.
Yeah.
Sean Max?
Yeah. Sean Max.
Gotta wake up to the trade deadline. I'm trying to be I'm awake during New Zealand time. Nobody's on the phone.
I was like, that's not even in Australia. He's from New Zealand?
Yeah, he's from New Zealand.
I always think he's from Australia.
I was accused in the
Sean
Discord of my
Boss.
New Zealand accent sounding like a person from New Zealand doing an Australian accent, and
Yeah,
I was like,
kind of a little bit.
I was like,
I could
thank
hear
God Americans cannot tell the difference. They
Yeah.
do not care. It's all the same.
that. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I can get my computer to work here. I'll be back tomorrow at noon, and let's slop them up, baby. Sloppiest trade deadline that we've ever had, I think.
Big time.
I mean, the amount of players that have been traded that are like made all-star teams. How many guys have been traded that have made all-star teams? Jarrett Jackson Jr., Trae Young,
Chris Paul, James Harden.
technically Chris Paul, James Harden, Darius Garland, Anthony
Mhm.
Davis, Nikola
Mhm.
Vucevic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We've never had a deadline where 7 guys.
Well, we've gotten 12 trades so far, if my math is correct. And I researched, this was my other fun fact, and then I got to head to another meeting. My other fun fact was 8 of these trades have included Thunder legends. 8 of them have included players who have played for the Thunder or Thunder assets.
Jesus Christ.
They're the sloppiest team in the world. The world revolves around Oklahoma.
Which is really funny because I don't know if you heard this, but Kirk Goldsberry said the other day on Bill's podcast or Zach's podcast that he was like, my gut feeling is that teams that make trades a lot are not among the best teams in the NBA. And I'm like, yeah, because you work for the San Antonio Spurs when they never made trades. And now they make trades now too, because it's just a different NBA. It is a different time than it
Kirk
than it was.
Goldsberry is so mad that he didn't get the call once Pop retired. He wanted that coaching job so bad. He's like, oh, please let me coach the Spurs. I don't want to make any trades either, guys. I promise.
And now he is punished to go on Zach Lowe's podcast once every 2 weeks and just have everyone get mad at him for never having opinions on things. All right, this was fun. Thank you for joining, Nick. I know you got to get out of here. Hopefully, does Giannis get traded or no?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm starting to feel that way too, but we'll see.
24 hours ago I felt completely different, but I'm saying no.
Yep, they're manufacturing consent for a return right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although I don't know if we could say manufacturing consent considering what's come out in the last week about Noam Chomsky.
Hey,
anyway,
Noam Chomsky is no longer my friend. Edward S. Herman is my best friend now.
peace.